This is the Nintendo video game system. It plays only cartridge games. This is the new Atari XE system. It plays cartridge and disc-based games. Atari gives you a keyboard for playing advanced computer games. It even comes with the amazing Flight Simulator 2 cartridge. The new Atari XE video game system. Unbeatable.
So Atari's not done recycling their 5-year-old systems yet. We're going to come out with another one, the Atari XE game system.
They decided to take the 800 series of 8-bit computers and repack them into the Atari XEGS.
The reason that Atari decided to release the XEGS system is because in 1986, a year prior, they had released the Atari 7800 system to compete with the NES. It didn't do very well, or as well as Atari had hoped, so they decided to rehash and basically make their 8-bit line of computers into a home console, and that's what they got with this.
The deluxe version of the set came with a keyboard and a light gun.
We're going to include a missile command built in. We're going to include
Flight Simulator
2 and Bug Hunt, because now, not just you Nintendo, Atari now also has their own zapper gun.
All they really used it for was releasing old Atari computer games, and they released about 30 games total.
Most of the XE games were repackaged from early Atari computer ones on the 800 before. So what's the point of getting this system? There is none.
So there weren't any original games really created for this, and because of that, and the fact that it sold for $200 at the time, it didn't do very well as well as Atari hoped.
Especially with Nintendo, the NES, and even the Master System out there with more impressive fare, more recent fare, people weren't so interested in going back.
You had your chance, Atari. You failed. My legs are numb.
So we never quite got the Goonies II movie sequel that we wanted, but Konami decided they were going to give us a video game sequel to it anyway.
Goonies 2 was actually the sequel to the first one that was not available on the Nintendo, but you could play it in North America on either the Nintendo Versus system or the PlayChoice 10 arcade units.
And I saw Goonies 2, the video game. I'm like, oh my god, there's a Goonies 2 movie. And then I played the game, and you're rescuing this mermaid called Annie, and I'm like, what the hell is going on here?
It's a open platformer, similar in vein to something like a Metroid, where you explore the Fratelli's hideout made out of caverns and caves.
The world is big and non-linear, and I remember getting really lost and really frustrated as a kid.
When you go into a door, you play a first-person adventure-style room, and you can navigate these rooms to get to the other side.
3D maze perspective, I mean, okay, frankly, I hated those portions of the game because they could be confusing as all get out, but I appreciate what they could do.
It does have a fantastic version of Goonies Are Good Enough by Cyndi Lauper done in chiptune form.
That's fine. We all love Cyndi Lauper.
Beautiful, just like her.
Metroid.
In Metroid, you take control of the bounty hunter Samus Aran, who has to chase after some space pirates and bring them to justice, and finish off their leader, Mother Brain.
One neat feature in the game is that you actually gain abilities. So you get, different weapons, but you also get the morph ball and the bomb for the morph ball.
There's cool discoveries that you do throughout the game too, similar to how Zelda.
Yeah.
Like Zelda, the game is about exploration and finding new items to progress to other areas that you couldn't reach before.
It's another game where they kind of take the reins off and let you explore the world at your own pace, which means that you are going to screw up a lot.
Metroid was a hard game to navigate. You needed a map, really.
Yeah, this is before Nintendo Power even existed. You still had the Nintendo Fun Club magazine. So, I mean, you had to actually call up someone or know a friend in order to figure out what to do if you got stuck. I mean, if you had a Fun Club issue that had the map in it, you were good to go, but not many people had Nintendo Fun Club magazine to begin with.
You could get multiple endings in Metroid depending on how quickly you beat the game, which popularized speedrunning the game.
And at the time, it was quite shocking to find out, if you got the best ending, that Samus Aran was a woman.
A woman?
Whoa! Women can wear armor and wield guns!
Metroid was eerie as hell when you started it.
It actually was a little scary.
Yeah.
A little scary.
The thing about Metroid that made it great is that it was a very moody game. The music in Metroid gave you the feeling of being alone on a planet, and it does that very, very well.
It just has that claustrophobic feel to it, that you're just constantly going through hallways and you're just trying to find your way through a maze, and you're all by yourself,
Metroid has a friggin' amazing soundtrack by Hirokazu Tanaka. I mean, getting atmosphere out of 8 bits can't be easy, but he pulled it off.
Instead of putting a battery backup feature in the game like they did with Zelda, you had this incredibly complex multi-character password.
There was a code in Metroid called the Justin Bailey code, and it was really clever because in the UK they call a Bailey a swimsuit, so just in Bailey means just in swimsuit. So you would see Samus running around in her swimsuit if you entered that code.
That's Metroid. Obviously, it's still a huge franchise for Nintendo. Samus is every fanboy's wet dream.
Sega can do no wrong this year with the release of Shinobi.
Shinobi by Sega was really the first game to capitalize on the 80s ninja craze.
Ninjas were hot in the 80s. Really, when are ninjas never hot?
You got a throwing star, your shuriken.
You have unlimited shuriken. You can touch enemies, but if you get hit once or hit with a projectile, you're dead.
One hit and you die, I mean, that sucks. But, you know, I was still able to get like really far in it, and even on just a quarter.
He could finish the game on 1 quarter.
Get this guy out of here. He's only spending a quarter tonight.
You have to rescue the hostages in each stage before you can progress to the boss.
I had some really cool end-level bosses, very big.
One thing I remember about Shinobi as well is the backgrounds. I always remember seeing Marilyn Monroe in the background of that level, and I was just, at that time, that was an incredible graphic.
You have ninja magic, which is cool. It's like special attack. You wipe out, everything on the screen.
At the end of each stage was a bonus mission where you would kill jumping ninjas with shuriken, and that to me, just the first-person perspective of throwing the shuriken that's Shinobi to me. That's how I remember it in the arcade.
The ports were not fantastic.
Really? I thought they were okay.
Oh, I can't wait till Sega brings this out on the Master System at home. It's going to be so awesome, and it's going to be exactly the same and stuff like that. But of course, it wasn't. Yeah, but it was still good.
This is the heyday of Sega in the arcade.
But it was fun.
Yeah.
They always made going to the arcade just, that much more exciting.
(1943), subtitle, The Battle for Midway.
1943 was the sequel to 1942, and that was a good name for it because it would have been confusing if they'd called it 1942-2.
You are one plane taking on a whole squadron of others.
The goal was to beat the Japanese sea and air forces through 16 stages and ultimately beat the Yamato battleship.
1943 only gives you 1 life, but you have a fuel meter. Now, using your special attacks will deplete fuel, as will getting hit by some of the lesser ships.
Unlike in 1942, where you could only shoot and loop, you had one of 3 special attacks that cost you a little bit of fuel, but they would just blast everybody.
There are 2 types of bosses. There are battleships that you can take out, and there are large bombers. And when you take out the battleships, the game actually stops and shows you diving down close from the air to the water, and you skim along the water and take out some low-flying airplanes before you fight the battleship.
It's strange that you have a Japanese company making a game about World War II where you play the Americans beating the crap out of Japanese.
Japan, you're getting destroyed once again in 1943. Thanks, Capcom.
And now the gaming innovation for 1987.
Hello. Welcome to the gaming innovation of 1987. What new technology graced the world and changed the face of gaming forever? Driller by Incentive Software was the first game to use the Freescape 3D engine. By using solid geometry, players were able to interact with their environments and look left, right, up, and down, which was a rarity for 3D games at the time. This 3D engine was considered so ambitious that Incentive Software had problems even hiring programmers to join the project, many of whom considered it an impossibility. These people were later known as Debbie Downers. That does it for the video game innovation of 1987. I'll see you again in 1988, and don't forget, it's not just nostalgia, it's science.